What's going on YouTube? It's Texans Takeover here, back with another video. In today's video, we are doing my 53-man roster predictions. Gonna do one before training camp, during training camp, and then after training camp, right before that preseason um, comes. And then obviously, try to do one either every week of preseason or when cuts start to begin. Kind of follow along there, and then give my further predictions. But yeah, we have 92 players currently on the roster technically because Johnny Carter and Xavier Thomas are both on the IR, which takes them away from the, total number of 90. So it's technically 92, but it counts as 90 right now, which is the limit that you can have headed into preseason. You start with 90. Um, I can't remember if it cuts down to 75 and then goes to 53 or if it just stays at 90 now, but um, yeah, we're here with these 92 players. You have the option to, put them in the practice squad. That's what the PS is for. But for me, I think all three quarterbacks stay. I think no Whittington or Jawar Jordan. I'm going to pick Jawar Jordan to go to the practice squad. Um, I think Evan Hull is going to be cut. I think Pitsenberger is going to be cut. So you have three running backs, but technically four because you do have Jawar Jordan there. But I don't know. I have high hopes for Noah Whittington. I really liked him in college. He's someone that I would have considered drafting for the Texans at a spot where we got like Lewis Bond. Um, but I'm a fan. I think he can do really good things in the NFL. As a complimentary back, not as a star back, but um, I think an RB3 for him in Houston's perfect for him. And that's already three players down that we need to get rid of. In terms of the wide receivers, I think this is pretty simple. I think um, I don't know how to. Subkowitz, I think is the way to pronounce it. He's from Illinois State, I believe, but I think he will get put on the practice squad just because he does have the height speed combo, and he just needs to work on the separation factor. But I think he could carve out a role there. I think Jared Wayne's another guy that they rely on. I think he could find the practice squad. I think Justin Watson's someone that gets cut. I think Jaquan Jackson's going to be someone that gets cut. Same with Trayvon Sanders and Josh Kelly. So another bulk of players, but I think the Texans roll with no, we'll keep Justin Watson, actually. I think we roll with 7 wideouts. I think that's fair, considering that Justin Watson does have a special teams role. But I would expect Lewis Bond to be the backup slot. And if he isn't right away, then I think, it's something like this, and Lewis Bond eventually takes over. But I do think he finds a roster spot because it does seem like the team does really like him. And I think 7 wide receivers with 2 on the P squad in Sokowitz and Wayne is very healthy. Considering Nico does get hurt, but then you could have Jaden Higgins and Tank Dell now as your 1 and 2, which is not bad. Or you could have Higgins and Nola as your 1-2 and Bond as your slot, which also isn't bad. Or just let Xavier Hutchinson come into that role, which he's not bad at either. So, I think 7 receivers with 2 on the practice squad is something the Texans might do. It could be 8. It could very easily be 8. But considering we do need to get these numbers down, I'm willing to start at 7 and then maybe bring some people back, considering how it goes. In terms of tight ends, I think Lane Prior's gone. I think Brevin Jordan's staying. I think Kate Stover is going to be a fullback, so I'll keep him here. I think Lewis Hanson's gone though, so I do think there's 5 tight ends technically, but 4 listed as true tight ends, and I think Kate Stover will be a fullback. Foster Moreau's going to stay. Marlon Klein's obviously going to stay. Same with Dalton Schultz. So there's your 3. And then it's kind of between these 2. And I think you have an excuse to keep the both of them. I think Brevin Jordan could be your tight end 4, as well as like your H-back, athletic kind of tight end that could be a sniffer, catch the ball at the backfield for you. Kind of, not a fullback, but when you have a tight end play at that running back spot, like I don't know who would do that. Tyler Warren, I guess, would do that, where you have a tight end to the left of the quarterback, a running back to the right, and you can kind of do these sweeps and stuff like that, which Woody Marks would be excellent at. You can have Brevin Jordan in there, who's athletic enough to get to the outside, and then when you want to throw the ball in those formations, Brevin Jordan's also athletic enough to go make a play. So that's my thought process. And that's why I have both of them staying. Maybe one of them does go eventually, but for now, I do have these 5, considering that Kate Stover might be a fullback as well. Going to the offensive line, I think Ursary and Fisher stay because I think Fisher's young enough to where if he can develop, he could potentially have some trade value down the line. I think James Neal picked him up from UDFA. I think he's gonna go. Sorry, I need to scroll down for that. I think Derek Graham as well is gonna be another that gets cut. Same with Kingston. They're gonna want some people in the practice squad. And I think Kingston, considering how long he's been here, is gonna go to that practice squad. Hagan, I've heard some good things from. Um, rookie minicamp and stuff like that. So I think he'll be probably on the practice squad as well. Jarrett Patterson, I think it's cut to free up that cap space, and then Eli Cox, I think it's cut as well. So you have um, two right guards, but Kingston could be a swing tackle. Maybe James Neal. Yeah, we're gonna put three offensive linemen on the practice squad, and I'm gonna put James Neal there. Um, Seems like they might like him. And I do think Kingston can play tackle, but I think is going to transition into a guard. And I think he's fine in the practice squad. I don't think he does any harm. So it's down to 74. So we got 16 players out, 10 cut, 6 to the practice squad, and now we're headed to the defensive line. I think you got to get the easy ones out the way. Dominic Bailey. I think Junior Tafana is going to be another practice squad guy. I think Solomon Bird's going to be cut, and I think they're going to try to keep around Sebastian Harsh, just because he's younger. I think To'o stays. I think Woodez obviously stays. Jamal Hill's interesting because he gets hurt a lot, but he's a really good special teamer. Hansen might get cut. Hummel's going to stay, in my opinion. I think you could see Jamal Hill get cut here. I'm going to put him in the practice squad because there's room there, but there's no need for this amount of weak side linebackers. But I mean, I guess you could interchange them. I think Aiden Fisher stays, obviously. I think Ali Gaye and Casey Osai are going to be cut. And that gets us to 68. So we're kind of cutting it close. I think Kai Kroger's another one. If Stonehouse wins that job, whoever doesn't is going to be cut. But anyway, we move to the corners. I think Sebastian Hall is going to be cut. I think Colin Wright's someone that could be placed on the practice squad. Same with Elijah Huzzy. Stingley, Smith, Lassiter, Petrie, Kamari, Kalen, Reed, and other Reed, I think are the locks. Same with Tremont Smith. I think Brandon Codrington is going to be someone that plays a special teams role. So you kind of have 6 corners in there. You have 64 players right now. Kayvon Merriweather, I think, is going to be cut as well. So Hull, Pitzenberger, Jackson, Saunders, Kelly, Prior, Hanson, Graham, Patterson, Cox, Bailey, Bird, Guy, Osai, Kroger, Hall, and Merriweather. And then in the practice squad right now, we have Jawar, Soskowitz, Wayne, Kingston, Hagan, Neal, Tafana, Hill, Wright, Huzzy. So 10 more players to go. Justin Watson, I think, would be one of those casualties. It'd be between him and Bond, and I don't want to let Bond go. Love Lewis Bond. I mean, I could see Blake Fisher going, but getting traded. So, we'll debate that. I think Stover would go in this case, to be honest. Or Jordan. I think the Texans would rather keep Stover for some reason over Jordan. But in my personal opinion, I'd keep Jordan over Stover. So that's down to 61. I don't really see any other option besides potentially Blake Fisher to get cut. Sebastian Harsh could obviously go to the practice squad, but that only leaves you with 4 edges. Keontae Hamilton, practice squad as well. I mean, I think it comes time where Jake Hansen has to be cut there. Marte Mapu is obviously going to be the third will or second. One of these guys might be a casualty as well, between Cogrington and Smith. Ooh, this is really close. The team is just in such a good spot that it's so hard. Maybe like Aiden Fisher goes to the practice squad initially. I mean, you got to think special teams too. Stewart has to roll on special teams. Hummel, Mapu, Smith, Codrington, Marcus Ingram as well, though. So I think Codrington can go. Jalen Smith will probably have a role. EJ Speed usually does. He's going to be on IR, so that's another spot. So let's bring back a linebacker. Hansen, maybe? Yeah, I think it'd be Hansen that I'd want to bring back. No, I'd bring back Fisher. So let's let Hansen go. So we're at 56 of 53. Um, I mean, this is tough. I'd have to cut Blake Fisher if that's the case. I think it'd be more likely to trade, but 9 offensive linemen is usually what we go with. 6 receivers, 3 running backs. Nah, it's too important special teams wise. Special teamer, special teamer, special teamer, special teamer. Probably a special teamer as well. Another one. You need at least 5 defensive linemen and some that you can bring up. So Junior Tafana's perfect there. Keontae Hamilton's perfect there. Oh, golly. This is tough. MJ Stewart, I don't think the Texans consider cutting. But the fact that Kamari Ramsey's there is making me question it. Marcus Ingram or Tremont Smith, maybe? Too important special teams wise, these guys. But I mean, if there's there's 2. I think Fabechi and Keelan are both locks. Loose Bond's up in the air, but considering we only have 6 receivers left, I made my preference clear. It's got to be one of these linebackers. We'll go. Who will we go? They went out and traded for Mapu. They went and signed Hummel. He's gonna stay though. I think he's too important. Yeah, we'll do that with Mapu, and then it's MJ Stewart or one of these corners. I think that goes. I think you want 5 corners, and then you technically have 5 safeties available with Petra and Ramsey if you want to consider them safeties. So I'm gonna go with Stewart, which hurts. And then you still have 3 practice squad slots. So who are guys that you could like Solomon Byrd or Dominic Bailey? I think would be one. Brevin Jordan probably another. If it came down to it, and then maybe another running back in there. Do we have one? No, we have Jawar there. Eli Cox maybe, or yeah, I think Bailey would be there. Who else? Jordan or Stover, I think one of the two, or hear me out, British Brooks and Stover at fullback, or vice versa. Just for the visual appeal, we'll do this. And then other than that, maybe Hansen, special teams role, or Codrington. But I think these guys could find teams. All these guys, I think, would find teams down here. Eli Cox is the one that's interesting me the most. Just because what if Andrews or Rutledge gets hurt? You're going to need some insurance there. But I guess that's the same case for every other one of these players. Last spot, I think, would go to Solomon Byrd. I think. Yeah, it'd have to be, in my opinion. Isn't Harsh there, though? Yeah, you got Harsh, you got Byrd. And that's it, I think. Yeah, there's no other DNs. So you keep 2 DNs there. All right. I think I'm pretty content with that. So you end with the roster of Stroud, Mills, Mertz. Then you got Montgomery, Marks, and Whittington as your 3 backs. British Brooks as your fullback. Collins, Hutchinson, Higgins, Dell, Nolan, Bond as your 6 receivers. Then you have Schultz, Klein, Moreau, and Jordan as your 4 tight ends. Ursery, Teller, Brown, Rutledge, Andrews, Ingram, Wewu, Smith, and Brown as your 9 offensive linemen. I think Evan Brown's going to have a pretty big role in this team. You have Anderson, Robinson, Hunter, and Horton as your 4 edges. And then you got McDonald, Rankins, Hall, Togiai, and Naquan Jones as your 5 D tackles. These 2, your predominant 3 techs, and McDonald and Jones, and then these your 1 techs. Or Hall could be anything you really want him to be. He could be your rotational edge as well. Um, your five linebackers are Toto, Z's, Fisher, Woodaz, Hummel. Your five corners are Stingley, Lassiter, Smith, Ingram, Smith. Most likely be like that. Your five safeties and two nickels are Petrie, Ramsey, Bullock, Reed, and Blankenship. And then your special teams as your kicker, snap, punter, long snapper, Fairbairn, Stonehouse, and Rickman. I think Stonehouse wins that job. Guys that we cut: Hole, Pitzenberger as the running backs, Jackson, Saunders, Kelly as receivers, Prior and Hanson as tight ends, Graham, Patterson, Cox as offensive linemen. Then you got Ali Guy and Osai as linebackers, Kruger as a special teamer, Hall, Merriweather, Codrington as corners, Watson, another receiver in there, Hanson, another linebacker in there, Fisher, another offensive lineman, and then Stewart, another secondary guy. On the IR, you have a Johnny Carter, Xavier Thomas, and EJ Speed. And then on the practice squad, you got Jawar Sobskowitz, Jawar being the only running back, I believe. Sobskowitz, Wayne as your only receivers. Kingston, Hagan, Neal as three offensive linemen. Tafana, Hamilton, and Bailey as your D tackles. Hill and Mapu as your two linebackers in there. Then you got Wright, Huzzy, two DBs, and then Harsh and Bird as two DNs, and then Stover, Jordan, whoever you want it to be, or even British Brooks as your practice squad guys. So let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all's 53-man roster prediction is down in the comment section below. I mean, obviously you're not going to name 53 players, but who would you replace and who would you take out? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and as always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Peace.